Hello. This is weird. Sitting there watching that clock tick down. First, I want to check, can you hear me? I want to make sure everyone can hear me before I start waffling on. If someone could just let me know. Can you hear me? 100%. Perfect. So yeah, hello and welcome to my first live show. Please bear with me because I am sweating on the inside. I'm probably sweating on the outside, to be fair as well, just because this is a daunting prospect for me. I've featured on other people's and I appreciate the opportunities for those, but this is one where I thought, let's give it a go and just see how it goes and then talk about it on the off season as a potential kind of thing moving forward. But what the purpose of this one is just purely to talk about my 2023, which is a bit egotistical. I get that. I'm talking about myself for, hopefully an hour or so. But it's been a bit of a mental year. So please forgive me. I'm trying to learn with all of the comments. I'm going to try and read the comments. One thing I will say is if there's a question directed at me, because obviously I want you to encourage to talk to each other in the chat. That's what it's there for. But also, if you have a question for me, which I will prompt for questions, then just maybe put that JTTA and then a hyphen or like a question and then hyphen, just so I know that it's for me and I will hopefully pick up on it. But there will be a section at the end of each time for me to just answer questions. But some of the stuff we want to talk about, as I kind of stated before, is just the Merlin Annual Pass collaborations, the ITV appearance and how the process for that was, and just my year in general. But first things first, of course, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody, for being here and for recently sharing the love on my news, or our news that we announced on social media, is that we're having a baby. So thank you for that. It's been overwhelming. I wanted to share it with you guys. We wanted to wait for the right time, but as soon as I had the earliest opportunity to tell you, I wanted to share it with you and share that video. So I appreciate the love there. That meant a lot to me because I made some really, really great friends here, and I can see a lot of the names popping up there. Apologies. I also now have my glasses on, so because I don't want the reflections and stuff. So yeah, I'm trying to do it. I'm looking there. Obviously, Beth, co-political. Yeah, Bay, Ben. I think it's Bay, right? It's got a little theme park buddy moving forward, which is great. And I can see a load of names in there. I'm not going to say hello to everyone individually, but I appreciate everyone being here. And hello. And yeah, so I want to go back to 2023 was one of those years where I vlogged 2022. And I thought, right, 2023, what do? We have to be different. We have to find something different to I kind of established last year. Vlogging was great, but for me, I needed a little bit more of a purpose to it. So I sort of said, right, we'll give it one more go. I reached out to a few people, which again, I didn't do in 2022. Hence why I've got this overwhelming amount of people here now to listen to me talk rubbish. I've just seen Sam's comment. But yeah, so I thought to myself, right, let's go back and then let's kind of look at the challenges. And the first, obviously, vlog that I did this year was at the Fort Park Annual Pass Holder Day, which to say went pretty badly, which I vlogged that. I think we had one roller coaster open pretty much, like all day. There was only ever one open at a time. There was never multiple roller coasters open at a time, which is just ridiculous, especially for the first time back in the park and you travel that way and stuff like that. So we did that, and then I had the privilege of going with a load of you lot and a few people that aren't here to kind of redeem that and go back to Fort Park to try it out again. And I think we had a pretty good day that day, and like I said, I got to meet a load of people, some amazing friends that day, and we've remained in contact ever since. So after doing that, it was like, right, challenges. So what I want to talk about is the A to Z challenge. I think that was, for me, was a pinnacle moment in doing that challenge for the first time, doing it at Alton Towers during a time when everyone was kind of focusing on the new attraction, Cursor Manor, that just opened and stuff. So it was it was kind of like, well, what do I do? So I went for my first challenge. So the first challenge, A to Z challenge. So the idea behind it was, in my head, it was a little bit easier than it was on the day. I mean, it was quite literally a full-on day. I was doing it from, I think I went in the park slightly early because I was staying. Went in the park slightly early and was like, right, we'll do A to Z. And that's what I said, is that in my head, I was like, maybe I could film it in order, but I'm going to suggest that maybe I don't film it in order just because it's going to be difficult. So yeah, every letter of the alphabet, going around the park and trying to find every letter of the alphabet. So that was, for me, it was really, really fun. Probably, if not one of the most fun videos I've vlogged to date, just because I was taking so much attention to every element of the theme park. So I was looking at every menu, I was looking at every ride name, ride names, for example, things that maybe you've missed, even though you know they're there, but you do the same rides all the time. So it was like looking for those abstract, unusual things, looking for food, going in the shop, trying to find stuff that maybe meant I didn't have to buy loads of stuff, because that was something I didn't really want to do. In Alton Towers, I ended up spending quite a bit of money, which was quite annoying. So yeah, we kind of then just going around the park and just finding everything, riding the rides, and then coming across really difficult letters that I didn't anticipate. Like N, for example. Every park to date, N has been an absolute nightmare of a letter, which you just wouldn't think that would be the case. But it really, really is. I don't know why. I mean, Alton Towers should be really easy, but as we know, Nemesis is closed. And we've got Beth here that he knows everything to do with Nemesis, but if it was open, easy. But then you look at the other stuff, and you've got obviously Nemesis Inferno, but again, it's like, that's pretty obvious. So you want to go outside the box there a little bit. So, yeah, so that was then going around the park trying to film that, and quite literally at times off the camera. And I think a lot of people here that obviously vlog and understand it know how much time there is off camera, and how much actually goes on off camera, which can be difficult for us to kind of put across, which is why when I filmed it out of order, I mean, I think umbrella was one of the things that I was quite literally looking for till the end of the day, and it rained in the day and I hadn't even thought about it, and then I just walked into a shop and it was like, there's an umbrella. So we did it, but by that point I was knackered. I was absolutely knackered. So yeah, the A to Z challenge for me was a highlight of the film. And then in terms of the other challenges, we've got at least one of the, I think we've got a legend in there now that's done it, which was spent the day in the park with Sam, which again was another amazing video to film. If you haven't seen it, I made Sam do all kinds of stupid stuff, and he was amazing to take part in that, and to just be the center of attention for me, to kind of make me or to help me make content, but for me to kind of give him stuff to do out of his comfort zone. And as you've just said there, I'm gonna have to highlight this one because I don't think anyone will actually know other than me and Sam until I make other people do it, because other people will have to do this challenge. We thought it'd be really, really easy. We were like, yeah, a couple of points. If you mouthful of water on stealth, it will be fine. And I cannot stress to you how not fine it was. And like I said, me and Sam know the water, because the acceleration caught me by surprise, the water kind of came out my mouth a little bit. And then that little bit of water went up my nose because obviously accelerating 80 miles an hour. So that went up my nose, which then kind of flustered me, which then caused the water out to kind of come back out my nose. And then I spat a little bit more out, which then went up my nose, and it kind of did a motion where it went up into my brain, out my nose, back into my mouth, from my mouth, and then ended on my lap. And it was horrific. But it's one of those memories, I think I speak for both of us here, where I say that we will take that away, and it's something that we'll probably never ever forget, because it was when I put it on the paper, I thought, challenge, this is going to be so straightforward. This is going to be so easy. And it really, really wasn't. So anyone that's keen to do one of the challenge championships, I know Sam's running away with it at the moment. It was only him and Darren have actually put in the scores, and I will reach to everyone else, but there's a possibility if we're at Fort Park, you will be absolutely having water in your mouth as stealth, and like Sam said, back row, because there was a woman in the seat in front of us, and because we obviously had to fill the water in our mouth and then try and get on the ride, and then the ride host started to ask Sam questions, and the woman in front, she wasn't very happy with us. She was really cautious that she was going to get soaking wet. So she wasn't very happy. And me and Sam on back row. So, and again, we thought we're just going to hold the water in our mouth, it'd be fine. Little did we know that we were going to have no water left by the end of it. And luckily, she didn't get wet, but she really wasn't keen for doing that. So, yeah, anyone that's keen for doing that. So the Challenge Championships was, again, another highlight for me. So we're just going over the challenges here just to kind of go across it. I know we've got other stuff to talk about, but the challenges were pretty cool. And then we moved on to like the randomizer challenges and stuff like this. So from the content that I've made and the way it's all kind of come across now is I don't tend to just do the normal day in a park now. I will do something that's a challenge based, and I'm always open to suggestions for challenges, unless you've got stupid ideas like somebody did when they tried to tell me to do things like checking my car door in Fort Bark and stuff, which wasn't overly I know who you are. And then we had so we've then got the randomizer wheel and things, and I've seen other now creators doing it, which is great because that's what I encourage people to do it, because all it's going to do is make your day in the park a lot more fun than if you're going all the time, and unless you're doing Nemesis updates all the time, which is which someone nails, Beth absolutely nails that. If you're going to the park all the time, then you've got this option to mix up a bit, and that's why I did it, and that's why I want to encourage other people to do it, hence the Challenge Championships. And then also the goggles. I feel like all I'm going to talk about here is just Sam, but we did the goggles. For those that have seen it, I did the goggles, blackout goggles, which I created myself, and then did that on a roller coaster, which is my latest thing to be doing, which is terrifying, literally terrifying. And I think Sam will speak for this. I did it on the base. I thought it would be okay, but it's just interesting to see what a ride would be like in the dark. So we're taking stealth and making it say X No Way Out back when it was in the dark, and this one obviously stealth would never be in the dark, would never be a ride that's inside. So putting the goggles on and it being completely black just makes your senses go crazy. So I've got my goggles, and again, anyone that's around that wants to have a go on the goggles, please do. I'd recommend anyone doing it, and like I said, it's underestimated. I think you think, oh yes, all right, and actually, because you can't see, everything kind of goes a bit crazy. So yeah, challenges is kind of where we went, which has been, like I said, for me, some of the best videos this year. So I know I've had that there on the screen for this whole time. Before we move on to sort of the next kind of topic, I don't know if anyone had any questions relating to the vlogs, the challenges and stuff. I've seen lots of comments here. I've not seen any questions, but then I've not really been looking. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions in regards to the challenges, as we said, it's the A to Z's, the Challenge Championships, the randomizers, the goggles, and other stuff that I've lost track of all of the challenges that we've done. And then before we do that, I'll move on to then kind of the future stuff as well that we've got planned. I keep saying we, but it's not we, it's just me. So Sam, can I buy a set of goggles? I've already got you a set of goggles, Sam. You know this. We traded because I don't know if you've seen my backdrop. Obviously, we've had to have donuts represented. This is a Sam print, and then also that is also a coaster top print there as well. Thanks for the trade for the goggles. So yeah, the goggles are all yours, mate. We'll have that exchange done soon, but the prints are looking fly. What we got? I do. So perfect. So that comes into it. So yeah, as much as we're saving up for what's coming next year, we've got some challenges coming up. We've got some stuff sorted out, some stuff that I hopefully should have done already. Mum says hi, but she can't comment. Old people and technology. So we've got this new contraption, which is a foam dice. So it's it's a solid dice, which has got, so these are like dry wipe, so you can write on them. So the plan is to decide on the day what I want to randomize, so I don't have to worry about like creating randomizers. For example, throughout the day, I can change it, chop it, do whatever, and then I can roll that dice in the actual theme park itself. And then once I've done it, wipe it off, change it, do whatever I need to do. Obviously, I need a dry day for this, which hasn't been overly great to me at the moment. So that is something that we're going to be using. Again, completely randomizer, not a challenge as such, but more just a day where we're mixing it up. And then also we've got the the Mystic Magic 8 Ball, which has been in the bag for way too long. When I went to Alton Towers, the plan was to do that video, and trying to buy a Magic 8 Ball was near on impossible. So I eventually got it and haven't used it yet. So in terms of challenges, there are a few. I wouldn't want to ruin the surprise for the actual challenge, but in terms of like the randomizer stuff, there is stuff planned, which is exciting for me to film. And like I said, anyone that's around that wants to join in, I have the weirdest bag when I go to theme parks. When I do, and Poppy and Sean can approve this as well. So when I went to Fort Park recently, I had those 2 pairs of blackout goggles. I had a bandage. I had some plaster, some sellotape, and some plaster. And then I tried to get in the theme park, and I was like, "I'm really sorry, but it's because I'm filming." And he was like, "I saw the camera. You're fine. I know you're making content." So, excuse me. So yeah, it was quite. I usually have quite an odd array of stuff in my bag. So if you ever see me, you pretty much know I've either got dice or Magic 8 Balls or anything you can think of in my bag. So yeah. Just want to point out. So there's obviously there's Emily, who is currently building our baby, as I say. And my mum as well was in the chat. This is a proper family affair. So hello, mum. Hello, Emily. I didn't see any more questions. Sorry, I'm just looking through this here. Oh, this is quite interesting because we're leading on to meeting on the flight. This is how it works. Moving on to when we go into Phantasialand. I flew from Bristol, which I mentioned in my vlog. It cost me about 15 quid, I think it was in total, to fly there. And I met him on the aeroplane, and we just chatted the whole way there. And then when we come off the aeroplane, it was like, oh, we're kind of paths are probably crossed again and bits and pieces, and we just chatted about it. And he's fresh to the game. If you see, what he was doing was actually booking the cheapest flight, and then just going to the next place, booking the cheapest flights. And I think you went from Cologne to, was it Lanzarote or somewhere, which just happened to do that. So again, yeah, hello mate, good to see you again. Yeah, kidnap bag, I've seen that. It was literally a kidnap bag. That's why I had to be like, it's not me. And then we've got some more family members. My niece here. Would you recommend Fright Night? Would it be a Fright Night challenge? I'll talk about Fright Night later, so I won't talk about that now because Fright Night is one of the topics we've got to talk about. And yeah, the bag of tricks. So yeah, that's the challenges to date and stuff. So as I said, I just wanted to go over that briefly, just because it's been a bit of a whirlwind year. And then we somehow managed to we'll go back to Phantasialand. So I was just saying there about Phantasialand. For those that have done it, this was my first experience of a European theme park. I'd been over to America and over to the States. I hadn't been to a European theme park. I didn't really know, if I'm honest, I didn't really know much about the European scene. Now, it seems like a real prominent sort of thing at the moment. I know we've just watched Poppy and Sean off the Efteling and a few Pull-Ups and Land and bits and pieces. I hadn't experienced the European theme park. And someone said to me, the problem is if you go to Phantasialand, it will ruin the theme parks for you back here. And I was like, nah, nothing's going to ruin Fort Park for me. Nothing's going to ruin Alton Towers for me. These places are my everything. I love them. But they were right. It did ruin it to a degree. And I think some that have traveled to Europe will understand. The Rookburg area of Phantasialand is just in a league of its own. Taron area is in a league of its own. The Africa area is in a league of its own. It's unbelievable. So if anyone that hasn't checked out Phantasialand, I would highly recommend it, because as much as I've watched these other vlogs and I've watched other parks and stuff, Phantasialand for me is pretty special, and it will always be pretty special to me. Hence the pictures behind me. Taron is currently my favorite roller coaster. I'm hoping that changes by the roller coaster above my head just there, based on theming and everything else that comes to it. But going to experience Taron and Fly in a day just blew my mind. And I absolutely loved it. I recommend it to anybody that hasn't been to put it on your list to go, because like I said, the areas, the food quality, even like the dark ride, the shooting ride, Chocolate Mouse, whatever it's called, mouse de chocolat or something. Just phenomenal. And so if you've been, you probably know. If you haven't been, I recommend it because it was fantastic. Is anyone I'd be interested to see, has anyone actually been to Phantasialand? I know some of you have. Who's actually been to Phantasialand, and what did you think of Phantasialand? I've just seen that, and do you know what? There wasn't any. There wasn't any donuts because I did an A to Z challenge, and I was planning on doing the D for donuts, and I couldn't find donuts anywhere. I was fuming because there was Dunkin' Donuts everywhere, as there is always in Europe. Dunkin' Donuts is a massive thing, but yeah, agreed. They really do wipe the floor. Sorry, I just said my father-in-law said, so where and when is your next theme park? I'll come back to that because it's very, very soon. Sorry, I'm just trying to get used to these comments. This is going flying, but it's brilliant, but too many sets for a pushchair. Yeah, that's things I've got to look forward to now, Simon. I didn't even think of that, but we know there's a perk though, isn't there, to having a child? There's a real perk to having a child when you're in Phantasialand, which makes the day a lot better. No donuts, no reviews. I should get a t-shirt with that. Like, no donuts, I'm not coming in. No donuts, no entry, or no donuts, no reviews. Well, obviously I know you're planning on reviewing it, but the food was good and really affordable. And again, I think from the vibe that I've seen online, a lot of European parks, again, are the same. It seems to be good choice of food, but also, good choice of food, but also good value. I think I had like a focaccia pizza style, and it was like €4 or something. Really crazy. Oh, agree. Oh, sorry, I didn't agree. Sorry, it's a question. Yeah, for me it is. Just because flying coasters aren't something I'm overly comfortable on, because I don't know if it's a height thing or what, but I enjoy them, but I'm never overwhelmed with them. So like Manta, Galactica, they're good rides and they're unique rides. But the theming, I mean, they're closer than they probably should be, just because the launch, the start of Fly. I don't want to ruin it because if you haven't done Fly, a lot of it is in the detail with regards to not the pre-show, but the pre-ride part. You're surprised by how you load on the ride and stuff, and then the ride itself is themed beautifully. But flying, I think it's an age thing. I kind of cramp up a little bit because I'm really kind of squeezing my legs together. I don't know if anyone else does that, but flying coasters just cause me a little bit of discomfort. So, and yeah, exactly. Baby Switch. Baby Switch is the one in there in Phantasialand. They are so good with Baby Switch. So yeah, if you're there as a pair, as I wasn't, but yeah, maybe Baby Switch is a thing. I've just given away a secret there. So Phantasialand I'm watching. So Phantasialand's so hot, vending machine snacks. I don't understand that. Do vending machine snacks. I don't know. But no, they like I said, the food wise was just, it was really, really good options, really good choice. And like I said, I've seen other videos and I've seen I know certain people speak quite highly of Plopsaland and stuff, but for me, just from watching, I know I've experienced it, so it's easy to say that, but from watching other people's vlogs and comparing them to Rookbear, for example, I don't think anything's compared that I've seen. And I know it's quite new, so it's probably an unfair thing to say, but it's a different level, and as Sarah said, it's different leagues to what we've got here in the UK. So cool. So no more questions on Phantasialand. So with regards to Phantasialand, just a quick thing, just because again we're going in time here. So because then what happened was if I'm being honest, I kind of hit a wall, like a creative block or whatever. Like I've hit a wall where I just wasn't really feeling it, if I'm honest. I wasn't really feeling I was feeling the love from the community, which is always great, but I wasn't feeling the growth. And I don't know, if we want to cover it. So if I don't know if anyone else is the same, the more effort you put into a video. So for example, I flew across the across the world, or not across the world, but across Europe, to go to a theme park, to make a video, to post it, kind of put some effort into actually creating it, making it, doing whatever. And then you kind of put it out on the internet and you have an expectation. I could be the only one that has this. I have an expectation where I would like people to watch it and enjoy it. That's all I want. And I'm not talking millions of people, but hundreds of people would be nice. And I was getting to a point where I'd had in my earlier videos 4,000, 6,000, 2,000, excuse me. And then I wasn't getting that. And it's a very fickle industry. And then also it can cause sort of mental health issues as well. So I really hit a wall with, I don't really know how to explain it, but at the time I can recall how I felt at the time. So at the time I'd fallen out of love with sort of creating content, and I kind of attached creating content and being a content creator as my release. And it was kind of not all I had, but I put so much into it that it was consuming me a little bit. So you start to think, if I lose that, if I stop doing that, I then lose the people and the great friendships that I've made from doing that. So you start to question and doubt. And as I said, you don't want to be going to a theme park and stuff. You don't want to be doing this, you don't want to be doing that. So I kind of hit a real low. And like I said, just kind of felt that I just didn't want to do it anymore. And it was kind of like a quick spurt thing. But there is a purpose to this. So I was feeling really, really low with regards to the creating of content. And I thought, like, let's just give it a go, and maybe make like one more video and just see if we can get the views back up again. I think it's just a roller coaster of emotions. Really, it is a bit of a roller coaster of emotions when you're creating content. I'll speak to a few here or most of you that create content, and you know what it's like, where you put so much into it and it's everything to you. And when you hit a high, it's very easy to then hit a low quite quickly after that. And as I see the comment here, for example, Beth, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about how that was your focus. That was something, it gave you a purpose, and you went and did it, and then they tried to take that away from you, and it wasn't very good. And that's what I said. It's just, yeah. So we got, anyway, I don't want to bore you with that, but we got to a point, and special shout out to, especially again, I've used his name so much in this. It's horrendous. Like, I feel like I literally should have a Sam t-shirt on, but Sam was brilliant, and was there for me. And I'm just trying to read this. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I said. Now I'm in a much better place now. It was just a lull. And as I said, it then leads us on to where we are next. And what happened next was my inbox one day popped up, and I had Merlin in my inbox, which was just a bit like, I say Merlin, sorry, Merlin Annual Pass, not Merlin Annual Pass. I always get those two. I always remember to kind of say the two, they're completely different. Anyway, so Merlin Annual Pass has messaged me, and there was opening up to having a conversation. So it wasn't, oh, we like your stuff. It was, we want to talk to you. And it was like, oh. So I'd met Natalie through some stuff that I'd been with Sam, and stuff that I'd been with Oscar and Chris. So somehow a conversation, my name must have come up in a conversation at some point. So I still think it was one of those two that put my name forward, but maybe it wasn't. But anyway, so kind of like, so at my lowest point, at the point where I'm thinking, yeah, I think I'm done with this, that kind of was like, wow. So I then put all my attention into that, which was a blessing. She doesn't realize how much of a blessing it was for her to pick me up that way. So anyway, we went to, we had a conversation, and for anyone, I get asked a lot, for example, like, how do you go about it? And I think it's just, you just be you, do your stuff. I mean, as I say, me, Sam, and Oscar's Airtime, everyone is, as far as I know, from this community is involved. And then we also have the Singh family, who we've met at a few occasions at various bits and pieces. They do it on a family basis. She has said to me that next year is when they will start to look to bring more people on. But at the moment, because of the year running out and they're not really having enough for everyone to do, they don't want to overflood it. And that's the thing, is they don't want to flood having lots and lots of annual pass collaborators doing the same stuff. And at the moment, it's quite a nice mix because Sam obviously is TikTok and Instagram. Oscar is a legendary youngster. And then I'm sort of an overweight middle-aged man who's kind of got that element covered as well. So there's a nice relationship there. And it's opened the doors to some stuff. So I just want to go over. So yeah, like I said, the process, there's not really an answer to kind of say, how do we do it? And I've had a few people message and say, how do I do it? And I'm like, just be yourself, create content. They're obviously the tagging, the over tagging stuff as well. I need to be cautious of doing that, but just let kind of just be you, and eventually they will find you. If you want to be found, that is. I know some people, it's not for everybody. But what Merlin Annual Pass has offered myself, and obviously the others, is the ability to be part of something moving forwards with a bigger picture. So anything that, not everything, but a lot of stuff that Merlin have coming up or have had come up, that we are kind of the first people on the list, which is amazing. We're not on the media list. I know a lot of people get confused between thinking that we're all on media lists. It's not the case at all. We are on the Merlin Annual Pass list, and Merlin Annual Pass have to ask Chesington, Fort Park, Legoland, whatever they need to do. They have to ask them for the stuff. So we are not by any means there. We are a representative. We collaborate with Merlin Annual Pass. So we create stuff and they give us the ability. So we've done the saw, behind the scenes saw maze that was gifted to us, which was a great experience. We know you can do it normally, but obviously this is slightly different. We had it kind of not to ourselves, but it was a bit of a reduced group, and we did the maze as it was. So that was a good experience. And then moving forward, we are now, I'm sorry, I keep saying we, I am being involved in stuff that's coming up for annual pass holders that is maybe not known to the general public, which is amazing. So obviously I can't tell you what it is, because I wouldn't want to ruin the surprise for those that are annual pass holders, but we're able to be involved with stuff, which is fantastic. The one I can tell you about, as we've seen before, is the Legoland new crazy golf, or miniature golf, however you want to call it, which is again just a little unique thing for me. Legoland is something I've always loved doing, and it's been amazing. So I'm keen to be getting there. We're going to be hoping to get there before it opens up. I don't know why it still says Sam is the voice of reason. Spill the beans. Do you not? No, I think you're winding me up. You know. But yeah, there's exciting stuff coming. I mean, it's not super secret stuff. I mean, getting on Exodus front row isn't going to be something that we're going to get through Merlin Annual Pass. That's hopefully going to be ITV, which we'll cover in a minute, which I know that's probably the only thing that anyone actually really cares about. But it's just exciting stuff coming up, being able to do hard hat tours of the stuff at Legoland. Obviously Exodus is off bounds because we know that a certain group have got kind of Fort Park covered. But yeah, it just kind of gives you access. So it's not the end goal. A lot of people think that maybe kind of done that and then that's it. It isn't by any means. It's definitely a stepping stone. And I think I said those that are on it with me will say that it's good, but I wouldn't focus on it wholly if that's something you think that's the next step. It is a great step, but it's not the end goal. The end goal is to be in with the parks individually, because Merlin Annual Pass isn't, as much as you think it is, it's like they're the umbrella. They're not. Annual Pass is very much on the side of the parks and stuff. So, but then what it did open me up to, which is something we lead on to next, is it did give me the opportunity to be on television. So we'll go on to that in a second. I just want to make sure I've just not missed any questions here and stuff. Like I said, apologies for if it's don't know how this is coming across. I'm just kind of sat in a room talking about myself, which what's been your favorite Merlin Annual Pass event? Well, it's limited at the moment, but we have got one. There is one. I think the most exciting one I'm working on at the moment, which again I can give details. I believe if I'm not, I'll probably get kicked off. But what's really, really good is we've got Oktoberfest coming up, which is probably one of my favorite events, second to Fright Night. Although I've enjoyed Carnival and Mardi Gras this year more than I did last year, but last year I loved Oktoberfest. And Merlin Annual Pass. So my answer, this is answering that question, by the way. My event is coming up, which is in September. I will be at a theme park filming for Merlin Annual Pass to do with Oktoberfest. But what's really, really great about it is that it's for them. So as much as we thought the hide and seek was going to be for them, it turned out it wasn't. But we are working on potentially making it a case. But Oktoberfest is. So Merlin are kind of giving me food, drink, fast passes, and videographer to film content for Merlin Annual Pass. So that's probably the thing that I'm most excited for, which even though it hasn't happened yet, there's a lot of work that goes into it. And that's when I say about the Merlin Annual Pass, it's called a collaboration for a reason, because there's a lot that you have to put in order to get stuff out. And I said, I'm sure Sam would agree, being the older generation with me, that there's a lot of work that goes into it. So yeah, Matt. Well, yes, that's the dream. That's the dream, Dan. We'll cover that in a second. And yeah, I love Oktoberfest. Yeah, Oktoberfest for me. I mean, what events of the ones we've had this year? I know we've had Mardi Gras, Carnival, and now Oktoberfest. What's been people's highlights for what we've had so far? I mean, Mardi Gras for me was an improvement. I did both parks, as in when I say both parks, I mean the thrill-seeking parks, Alton Towers and Fort Park. I really enjoyed Alton Towers version. I know it's spread out a little bit more, but it was brilliant. And Fort Park was a step up from the year before, so I think that's kind of all we can expect from from that side of things. Just a positive move forward. You can't compare it to Universal's Mardi Gras as much as we'd love to. We'd love to have big alligator floats coming down the high street and stuff, which we're never going to have that because we're talking different budgets here. But I think as a movement, last year we had that bike type thing with speakers on the back, and this year we had a little bit more. We had stilt walkers and stuff, and it was a bit more of a parade. So they're stepping in the right direction, which I think is amazing, and that's all we can kind of expect for it. And yeah, agree, Carnival was really, really good. I don't know if anyone saw though, in my recent video, I'm so awkward with characters and interacting with characters, no matter what it is. I don't know why. I used to be fine. And I'm heading to Disneyland soon, so I'm hoping I'm like okay, but with the UK stuff, I'm awful. So they and that's why I struggle with Carnival, is I'm trying to it's just, I don't know, does anyone else find it like an awkward interaction with someone who's being a character to kind of have a conversation with that person? I personally, I just really, really struggle with it. I don't know, it's got worse over time. I think maybe because at Disney and stuff, they don't talk. Whereas when you try and have a conversation with a clown or something, it's quite difficult to do that. But like I said, it could just be me. I think maybe everyone's the same, but there's lots of those characters. What I'm getting at is that in Carnival, there's lots of characters to kind of talk to and interact with, which just isn't for me. But I would never judge it on that. Like I said in the video, that's what they're there for. A lot of people probably enjoy it. I just personally don't. So I tend to avoid it. And that's how I treat Fright Nights and stuff. I tend to just make out, just kind of move on and get past them really quickly, because it can be a little bit awkward. So, of course, yeah. I bet you do. Yeah. I just struggle. As I said, maybe it's not me, but yeah, I don't know if there's any. I haven't really covered the topic there. I know I'm kind of just waffling, but if there's any questions that anyone has for me at this stage before we talk about hide and seek is next, which I don't know. I don't know who's in the chat. I can see messages and stuff. As I say, without my glasses, I can just about see the comments on the side there. But I don't know if anyone's here. Well, I can see a few people are here that were at the hide and seek challenge. So we just want to talk about that and how much fun that was as a day as well. So I can't see any questions. So yeah, hide and seek. It was, again, I'm assuming people have watched the video. If you haven't, then check it out. But one of the things I pitched to Manuel Pass was to kind of do a hide and seek video, and it was something that we had a conversation about, but I knew that it was something I was going to have to kind of take on my own shoulders and present to Manuel Pass to say, this is what we're able to do. And they watched it, they enjoyed it, but there was nothing we could really do with it pushing it forward because it didn't. There was questionable delivery, and I say this: everyone was great, everyone was brilliant, but we did have issues on the day, which again I'm going to go over in a second. So the whole concept of hide and seek was pretty standard. Obviously, I'm quite inspired by the likes of the Sidemen, Mr. Beast, and that sort of stuff. So hide and seek is something I've always loved. Again, just a bit of fun, getting everyone together. And I knew that I could edit in a way that would make it exciting to watch. So we had loads of people that came through. So just click some of these. So obviously we had Poppy, who took the crown, along with Sarah, who took the crown. So they're obviously going to love it because they smashed it. And what you didn't see again is there's lots of footage that these guys took that you didn't make the video, that they just kind of took the videos, and I had to use like a select view to make it a watchable video because I didn't want a 2-hour long hide and seek video. I wanted a video that was nice and quick and easy to watch. So they made such good content, and I will use that at some point moving forward for maybe like a behind the scenes of hide and seek. Yeah, just going back to that, exactly that. It's definitely a phobia for people. Oh, look at that. The editing was... I enjoyed editing it, if I'm honest. The map situation was quite time consuming to do, but I think it actually added to the value, and especially when I found Abby and Vicky, the music kind of built up, and then eventually we found them. My biggest issue I had is I didn't find enough people. I think I didn't account for how busy the park was going to be. And also when I swapped positions, so halfway through, I told everyone to swap positions, and what happened was people kind of went to the positions that I'd already checked. And in your head, you don't really think to check those again, but actually I probably should have. And you did miss it, but you won't miss the next one, I can promise you that. Just how tall are you? This tall. It's not an illusion. So yeah, hide and seek. So there was, I forget, 9 people? No, 13 people, I think. 13 people. Anyway, so we had it where it was kind of park wide for people to go and hide. Set rules, no running, no moving position, kind of, yeah, hiding in plain sight as such, as opposed to hiding in some of the amazing places that he managed to find. In my head, I thought, there's not many places. If you can't hide in queues, you can't hide. If you hide in shops, you're going to be found. You can't hide in toilets. You can't hide on the ride. So you didn't realize actually when you walk around Fort Park how many spaces there are. Everything I'd think, there's definitely going to be someone here, and there wasn't. Or there's definitely going to be someone in Ben and Jerry's ice cream stand, which because it's a place I don't think many people know of, and there wasn't. The places that they managed to find were spectacular, and as you've seen in the video, they were really, really good. But with Millennial Pass, we couldn't take it anywhere because, unfortunately, security were very, very over the top. And I get it. I get they've got a job to do. I really, really do. And I get that having fully grown people hiding in bushes or hiding behind rocks must look weird. But even when I told them, explained to them what was going on, gave them the details, gave them the names, gave them everything that I needed, everything that we needed to provide, gave them to them, they still took it way too seriously. And like I said, I get it. If they think people are maybe planning on staying overnight and stuff like this, I get that. But when I sat them down, showed them all of the details, showed them obviously the fact that I'd emailed and said that we were going to be doing it and everything else, they just were a little bit difficult to deal with. So they were probably the biggest reason. And I don't think Adam's in here, but Adam was just hiding in a bush. I mean, wasn't doing anything malicious, and they were over the top with him, and then they were over the top with me, and they physically gave me a warning with regards to maybe never being back on park again. So I had to kind of calm the situation. But anyway, because of that, I think that Merlin have said, like, if we do it next time, we have to do it in a way that won't cause any issues, which I appreciate and I get that, but I had to try and push that through if we could, because I thought it was something that would look really good on camera. But secondly, it was actually going to be really good fun to do. And I think that some of the people on here, I've reading comments there that said it was really good fun to film. And I would love to have a go at actually hiding as well, because I think the problem was you're just constantly just walking around the park. And I think I walked past one or two people. I didn't really walk past many people, but I walked past one or two. And yeah, obviously some people maybe bent the rules slightly, but in Gary's defense, he joined the game of hide and seek about 5 minutes before we started, and I was like, here's the list of rules, and there was so many, because I wanted to make sure that everyone was safe, I wanted to make sure the park was respected, and I wanted to make sure that no one broke any rules and put themselves in a situation like I did with security, where we were being questioned as to what we were up to. So there were lots of moving parts to it, and it was a learning curve. And I think next time we do it, I've learned that things that we don't do. So yeah, that's exciting. And like I said, that was really good fun to film, and I appreciate everyone doing that. So thank you for doing that. I can't imagine there's any hide and seek questions. I don't think I've missed anything here other than Gary and Sean talking away about breaking the rules and stuff. But then I don't know, to be fair, he's having a go at you, Gary, but if you watch the video back, there were ants, apparently. He had to move because there were ants. So technically, Sean moved too. So, but anyway, that's for another conversation. But just in Gary's defense there, Sean did move as well. So you know, Gary. But yeah, so that leads us on then to ITV, which is still a bit of a pinch me moment. Just because, again, I think I speak for most of us here who love theme parks and roller coasters, that being a part of your favourite park, doing anything at all, is the pinnacle. So I just want to go through the process and what happened, because I've had loads and loads of questions, especially on the day when I was in the park, so I couldn't really do much about it. I had lots and lots of questions, and yeah, I just wanted to spend maybe 10-15 minutes just chatting about it, to kind of explain the process, because yeah, I know it was a bit of a whirlwind for me. So there was conversations between Stripe Communications. They deal with all of Merlin Entertainment, not Annual Pass. They deal with Merlin Entertainment's media, adverts, you name it, they go through Stripe Communications. ITV had reached out to Stripe Communications to say, we know it's National Roller Coaster Day, and we want to do something for Roller Coaster Day. And what do you think? Because Stripe Communications' job is to say, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And they suggested that, okay, we've got a couple of options, but we need to find someone that could do it. So Stripe reached out to Merlin Entertainment. Merlin Entertainment then reached out to Merlin Annual Pass and said, do you know of anyone that possibly would be up for doing this? And thankfully they suggested my name, but that wasn't like it, and it was just a suggestion. So there was a process that then went through. So Stripe Communication had spoken to Merlin Annual Pass indirectly, and they've said, yeah, Mike is possibly someone that we can look at doing. But this was always something that they might do. We might be on television. It might be this. It might be that. We don't know what we're doing. So So September the 16th, August the 16th, sorry, National Roller Coaster Day. So I probably had that initial call on maybe the Wednesday before, so probably about a week before, and it was like, are you okay if I put your name forward? And I was like, yeah, I need to know a little bit more, but of course put my name forward, and I'll speak to who I need to speak to. So Stripe then went back to ITV and said, we have somebody and we could do this, or this. And initially there was talks of me being on a roller coaster for the entire duration of this morning, which was exciting for me. I was like, that's for me, that's a dream, because this morning's on for like 3 hours. So I would quite literally start at 10 a.m. in the morning and ride it, maybe it's 2 hours, and then ride it through until midday when it finished. So I was like, yeah, I'm up for that. It turned out, logistics wise, it turned into what it was, but it was potentially that. So we then I then obviously had to speak to ITV. Sorry, I then had to speak to ITV to make sure that they interviewed me, basically. They physically interviewed me for the possibility of doing it. And I went through that process, and that was good. It was a good kind of thing to do. But it was nerve-wracking because it was something I'd never done before, and I was interviewing for something that wasn't theme park related. It was more of a being on TV thing, which I've never done. They kept asking me, have you been on TV before? I was like, no, I've never been on TV. I don't understand the TV process. Anyway, we had a conversation, and they just kind of asked me loads of questions on the spot, and I had to turn on my presenter voice and sound really, really enthusiastic, which, as you can tell, I struggle with because I'm sounding like I'm depressed right now, but I'm not. So I had to kind of switch on. Had that interview. The feedback was then a case of, okay, we might do it, we might not. It was never a definite. It was never ever a definite. Even when I was at Thorpe Park, it was never a definite. So it was like, yeah, maybe. The feedback came through from ITV to Stripe, and they were like, we really like this guy, but we think he might be, is he getting paid by you? And it was like, what do you mean? They were like, because the way I maybe presented myself, they thought that I was possibly an employee because of my knowledge and stuff. And I was like, no, I'm not, definitely not an employee. My Merlin Annual Pass stuff is purely voluntary, with limited reward. There's no cash value, stuff like that anyway. So we had that conversation. So that went well. And again, it was like, we might do it, we might not. Then it started to gain traction, and we got to a point where we were looking at being on TV. And what happens then is you have to then go through the process with being on ITV, because since Jeremy Kyle, I've learned this, since Jeremy Kyle treated his guests the way that he treated his guests, ITV now need to make sure that you are able to be put in the limelight, be put on television, and not struggle with any mental health issues or anything like that. So that was the kind of, I then had to speak to another, what they call a researcher at ITV. Then I had to have a welfare check with ITV. So this is the fourth telephone call, I think, that I've had. And again, it's still not guaranteed. Still don't know. This was the Friday. So by the Wednesday to the Friday before the following Wednesday, it was like, no, we don't know. We'll probably know on Monday. So the whole weekend was like, oh, I really want to do this. Of course, I really want to be on TV. I really want to go to Thorpe Park. I really want that kind of introduction to a theme park from a television perspective. And there was really positive feedback. So I'm thinking maybe we could do that. Maybe we're going to get this done, but we had to wait. So all weekend it was like, is it going to happen? On Monday came, nothing. All of Monday daytime, Monday afternoon, I was like, no, I think I'm going to chase them. So I chased up with Stripe, who obviously, again, Stripe Communications are the point of contact. So I'm not dealing with, this is not Merlin Annual Pass anymore. This isn't Merlin. This is literally me and ITV having conversations. I am appearing on ITV. Thorpe Park are just being hospitality for it. So went straight through to Stripe Communication to say, have you heard anything? She's like, no. So I then start to lose the faith a little bit, and I'm like, I don't think this is going to happen, because what they've always said, the whole process was, if something happens, they might not cover Roller Coaster Day. Roller Coaster Day obviously isn't as important as if a world war started or when the Queen died, for example. They can't guarantee there's not going to be something more important than Roller Coaster Day. But Monday afternoon came and I got the news that we were kind of going ahead. But again, not a guarantee, because they can't guarantee that something isn't going to happen. So it's scripted and scheduled, but it might not happen. So Tuesday came, had another meeting with ITV. Again, another researcher called me up, had a conversation, asked me about my favorite things, asked me about my favorite roller coasters, which is quite a funny story, because they asked me what my favorite roller coaster was currently, and I told them it was Taron at Phantasialand. And they used a POV on the interview, which again, I don't know if everyone's seen it, but on the actual interview on ITV, they showed the POV for Taron. And I got a message from Phantasialand saying that we used the wrong POV. We didn't use an official POV, and I just replied and sort of explained that it wasn't me. ITV chose to play the POV that they chose, and they managed to choose someone's POV, whether it was Coaster Force or somebody's POV that they used on ITV, without seeking the permission from Phantasialand. So anyway, I've just kind of said, that's not me, it's not my fault. That sounds like an issue with you and ITV, but I just think it's quite ironic that they used a copyrighted YouTube video on ITV national television. So, but anyway, so I answered all those questions and bits and pieces, and then I had a final meeting with Fort Park, Merlin, and Stripe Communications to go over. And there was like a long list of things they expected me to kind of try and say, and they obviously wanted me to big up Merlin, but not big up Merlin. They wanted me to big up Fort Park, but not say it directly, and all this stuff. And in my head, I'm thinking, I want to big up Fort Park because Fort Park's my home park. And of course, I want to be in the good books of Fort Park. That's like my aim, is to be in the good books. And I set myself three aims on the day. I said to myself, I want to try and get followed by Fort Park. I want to try and get invited to at least one media event this year, if I can. And the third one was to obviously be on television. That was kind of the three things I had. So greatly, I managed to get the follow quite quickly from the PR team, and then they also really looked after me on the day. So that was great. Anyway, I've moved forward a little bit there, not bragging, but it was good. So yeah, and it was like, again, it might not happen. So Wednesday comes around, or Tuesday night comes around, and I'm like, right, okay, we need to plan to be in the park for 8 a.m. I live just over 2 hours away from the park, so I had to leave here just before 6 a.m. in the morning to get to the park for 8 a.m. because the park was open at 10, and they wanted to do everything else. So it was like arrive at 8, and we'll get going. So arrived at 8 o'clock. Again, it might not happen. The weather was lovely. It was perfect. Roller coaster day. So I'm thinking, either way, I'm at the park. I'll enjoy it. Met up with the PR team from Fort Park, so what they called the people on the ground, who then took me round. And what was really interesting was we needed to get onto Swarm, obviously, because that was the ride that I rode. But because the engineers were working on Swarm, because they had taken the carriage in to fit the camera, and they had been there since early hours of the morning. Swarm Island, you weren't allowed to go on Swarm Island, because I'm assuming you walked under the track, so you weren't allowed to go on Swarm Island unless the engineer cleared it. So we had to go down the service roads. We went quite literally all around the back into where the entrance to where the Exodus track and stuff had arrived and gone through, and then we walked around, which actually I've now seen is the footage that Jack's used on his most recent documentary. So you've seen all back there, and there were like old artifacts and stuff, not artifacts, but like old Fort Park stuff just thrown in the grass, overgrown and stuff. And I was walking past, and it was breaking my heart because there was like log flumes and stuff that was just like dumped in the grass, and it was just getting old and worn away. But we ended up walking all the way around, and we went into the engineers area of where the Swarm ride was. So we walked in through this door, and it was all very exciting for me to kind of go back on, to get back there and stuff. And we ended up walking into that room, and there was the guys from ITV. There was a cameraman, and then the runner or representative of ITV that dealt with me on a daily basis. So, and it was like kind of like, again, having conversations, trying to pump me up, get me kind of excited. But by this point, my legs were starting to turn to jelly. I was getting really, really nervous because I had just found out there was live television. Initially, it was never going to be live television. And all of a sudden it was like, no, we're doing it live. And what we're going to do is we're going to be interviewed by the guys in the studio, and then you're going to ride Swarm, and we're going to carry on talking to you as you ride Swarm. So I was like, okay. So in my head, I'm going over all the possible questions, how I can get stuff in, how I can big up Fort Park, how I can talk about myself and stuff. And I'd quite quickly realized there was no way I was going to be able to talk about me. I was there just as an enthusiast. I wasn't there as Journey to the Attractions. So anyway, we kind of got to that point where then, again, if you've seen my TikTok, they then switched the ride cars over. So there was just one ride car over in the ride platform, and then they switched it out to the other one. So this is then the cameraed ride, which was second row because they had to have the camera on the back of the first row. So I was then sat on the second row. But we probably had about an hour and 15 minutes left until we were actually doing it. And they were like wiring me up with microphones. I had an earpiece. I had a microphone here and an earpiece in my right ear. And it was a proper earpiece. And as soon as they put that in my ear and turned it on, I could hear everything that was going on in ITV. So I could hear the hosts practicing their script. I could hear the producers talking to each other. I could hear the cameramen talking to people. I could hear everything that was going on, but also still trying to talk to the people that were physically stood in front of me because I didn't want to sound rude. And then there was one point where the host, which was Josie and Steve, spoke about it through my ear. They were physically talking, and I was kind of half listening, half not listening. And they said, and they said Mike, and I was just like, oh, they're obviously doing the intro. And they were like, Mike, and they were physically talking to me from the studio in wherever ITV studio is, just chatting to me, asking me how I was and stuff. And it was just a bit surreal. And then people were kind of frantically focused on me, which was great. I can't pretend it wasn't great, because it was. But it was still, again, overwhelming to kind of just be the center of attention for stuff. And then it was like, do we want to do a test run of the car? And it was like, no. And I wish they had, because the audio went down. But they were like, do we want to test it? No, it's fine. Got in the car, and I was sat in the ride seat for probably 10 minutes. And then the show started, and I could hear everything that was going on in my right ear. I could hear everything that was going on, but I could also hear the Swarm theme tune blasting out in my left ear. So it was like trying to physically concentrate on the right ear, but to a point where if you turned it up, it started to like crackle, like when you turn the speaker up and you turn it up so loud that it then starts to crackle. So it's like, I probably can't turn it up anymore. I'm just gonna have to try and listen as hard as I can. I then had a diva moment and was like, is there any chance you could turn down the Swarm music? Just because I was like, I need to somehow be able to hear what's going on, because I was so nervous. It's a bit like having this is the most important conversation that I'm probably ever going to have. That's how I'm thinking. It isn't, but that's how I'm thinking. Like, I need to be able to hear it, and I can't. But anyway, when they started then talking, the show started, and I could hear everything that was going on in the show. And they had shown me the script, so I knew when was going to be me. So when they said, yeah, we've got Mike, and then because what was quite funny is, because I'd read the script, I know that she had made a mistake in her thing, because she said Mike, the biggest fairground fan, I think it was, or something, but she was meant to say roller coaster. It's roller coaster day, it's not fun fair day. So she had for some reason just said the complete wrong word, which I was like, okay, so it threw me a little bit. And anyway, then they said, and we're going over to Mike, and then the guy on the floor was like, 3, 2, 1, go. And then there's the delay. There's not the delay in my ear, but there's obviously the delay when you watch it back. So they asked me a question, I respond to it, asked me a question. Anyway, if you've seen it, you've seen it. If you haven't, you haven't. They interviewed me, asked me a few questions, showed a few pictures, and then I went off on the ride. But the annoying thing is, as I started to go up the lift hill, I heard the crackle in my ear, and then I lost them. So it was like, I still need to keep my moment. This is my moment. Like, I still need to kind of make out. And it was like, I'd practiced with Emily. I'd said, like, how do I act on a roller coaster? Like, obviously I don't want to scream, I don't want to swear, but she was like, just have fun. So I did. I had fun. And it kind of came across that I was probably having too much fun. And I think I turned into a little bit of a roller coaster geek for whatever 45 seconds or whatever it is that I was riding Swarm. So did that, and then again there was conversations about the possibility of them talking to me when I got back, so I could still hear the show going on, and then all of a sudden I could hear Limp Bizkit rolling in my ear, and I'm like, what's going on? And it wasn't until I watched it back that I realised that the next segment of the show, they were showing a clip of Josie riding loads of roller coasters to the Limp Bizkit music. But in my head, I'm like, this is weird. I don't know what's going on. And then I went back and they said, just stay in the seat in case they come back to you. They didn't come back to me. And that was kind of the process that it then kind of ended there. And from that moment, ITV were internally grateful. We spoke about the possibility of doing future stuff with Josie for Fright Nights, and of course I had to bring up Exodus. So there is potential moving forward for me working more with ITV, which is extremely exciting. And that's kind of for me is the pinnacle, to be doing that, to ride a roller coaster on my own, one of my favorite roller coasters, and be treated that way was just phenomenal. And then after we finished, Thought Park then gave me access to pretty much anywhere that I wanted to go on the day. But what was really cool is as I left through the back and then went out to my car, sorted and put some stuff in my car because it was really, really hot, put my hoodie and that in the car anyway, came back into the park, scanned in, and then went round to Swan Island, and it was closed. They had closed Swan Island until 11 o'clock in the morning. And I was kind of stood there, and it was a bit of a surreal moment, a bit like almost emotional moment, where it's like, I've closed down Swarm Island for my TV, and it's not me because it was ITV, whoever had done it, but it was just a bit of a moment where you're sitting there going, this is mad. Like, I've physically closed down an attraction on Roller Coaster Day purely for me. So they obviously had to put the ride car back, take the camera equipment off, run it, test it. So they had to carry on doing it. So I was stood there waiting for Swarm Island to open to go back on Swarm, to be like, this is mad. Like, stood at the back of the queue, being the reason why these people are queuing. It's pretty crazy. So, but yeah, that was kind of ITV in a nutshell. And I know I've probably bored you to tears, but I wanted to go through the process and explain that it wasn't maybe as straightforward as some people assume or didn't know, because it wasn't. It was a really, really grueling process with a lot of reward, which is why I'm over the top with it for doing it. It was an amazing experience, and I was chuffed with myself to kind of do it. So, but yeah, so I'm just looking through the comments there. Sorry, apologies, because I'm seeing people having conversations. Oh, this is important. Dave's got a Big Mac. Lovely. Good choice there, Dave. There's that. Have you been recognised? This is quite funny. I went to Lidl the day after, because everyone calls shops at Lidl. And I was like slightly paranoid because I knew that my audience was probably all in Lidl, because most people that watched this morning are 60 plus. And there was this one person that just kept staring at me, but to a point where they weren't staring at me like I was like a burglar, like they normally do, because I'm 6'5". They're like, oh, he's definitely like, there's something wrong with this guy. They were staring at me in a way which, you know, when you recognize somebody, and I was just like, it'd gone to my head a little bit. So I'm thinking, oh yeah, it's like, don't worry, like expecting security to come across and push this old man out of the way and stuff. But it was, yeah, it probably wasn't, but it felt like at the time coincidental the way it kind of went on. So yeah, hopefully I'm going to be the next. Actually, I'm not going to say that because I know that the last ITV host hasn't got the best reputation, has he? So yeah, exactly, Gary. And that's the thing. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes. And it's weird now to watch TV and understand that when people make these little appearances on TV, the amount of effort that goes in. Because I wasn't sure if on the Wednesday I was going to be on TV for 10 seconds, if I was going to be on the TV for 10 minutes, and it was like 6.5 minutes, I think, in total, which was way beyond what I expected. So, but yeah, so that was ITV. So I don't know if anyone's got any, I kind of covered most things, but I don't know if anyone's got any questions about ITV experience at all. Can't imagine they have, but the other thing I wanted to move to kind of just see what people's thoughts are on, because I'm excited for it, is the Halloween season. just before. I mean, we're wrapping up soon, but just in terms of the Halloween season, I know we've had quite a few announcements for Fort Park. I haven't seen much going on in the Alton Towers world because there's rumours that it's going to be exactly the same. But is there anyone? I mean, what are the thoughts on Fright Nights this year? Fort Park have kind of finished their announcements now. Survival Games is returning. Crows are returning. And then they've kind of mixed up the Lycanthrope and Amity and stuff. And then they've now finally introduced a new, I can't remember what it was called. I just watched before coming on here to do with like Satan or something, which is quite exciting to have something new. But also I'm a little bit underwhelmed. I didn't enjoy Survivor Games last year, if I'm honest. So I can't say I'm buzzing to get back on that. Crows is good, but again, a bit overplayed now. A bit like the sort of Freak Creek Massacre was a bit overplayed. But yeah, I don't know if anyone's got any thoughts on that, the stuff that what they're looking forward to about this year. Because Friday Nights for me is probably my favourite season. And I'm hoping to get back there a couple of times this year, or to both parks if I can, because I've never actually done Alton Towers Friday night. So, who will you be right next to us with? It's you, mate, isn't it? We've had this agreement all the time. If you get a ticket, I'm coming with you. If I get a ticket, you're coming with me. So, yeah, hopefully. That's the end goal anyway, isn't it? To be on Exodus. I think that's everyone's kind of goal, especially I know Dave is very excited about Exodus. It should be him that I'm taking, but obviously we've got that pact that we're taking each other. But yeah, Exodus is the kind of end goal, really. Phone died. Never mind. Vegas trip. Yeah, so... Yeah, and then... So for me, I know my father-in-law messaged back about next trip. We're actually to Disneyland Paris pretty much now. Not now, but like in the next couple of days, which is super exciting. Just as a family trip, we're taking the unborn baby for their first trip to Disneyland, which is exciting. And yeah, we're just gonna have like a chill one. Oh, sorry, Oscar. It's definitely gonna be. If I didn't have the pact, Oscar he knows. But then he did say that he rode a roller coaster with his favorite person in America, so we need to have a conversation about that. But yeah, it does need planning though, doesn't it? That's the thing. You need to plan these things because the parks are there's. I mean, for me, I don't like going on weekends. I find weekends are just a little bit too full on, and you hear about the drama and the issues mainly at weekends. So I tend to go during the week. So there definitely is some planning going on into that. That'd be fine, Dave, because if you do the afternoon pass for the mazes and the 3 o'clock passes, it's cheaper. So you can do the mazes at 3 o'clock, do the walkthroughs before you leave, and then head off. You'll be fine. That's plenty of time, mate. Friday afternoon, exactly that. I miss the Creek family. I don't, but then I think it's the interactions. I struggle with interactions, and especially with their fake American accents. I struggle. But I didn't know that. I've not been, but again, I didn't know they weren't doing it this year, but hopefully they will. But yeah, all that leaves then is, does anyone have any questions before I wrap up? I was aiming to hour and 15, so I'm on schedule and I've just waffled, but this is my first experience, and like everyone, especially content creators, we know you've got to try something once to understand what does and what doesn't work. And talking about yourself for an hour and 15 is hard. It's really hard. When you think before, you're like, oh, I've had loads going on this year. But to recap, I have. I mean, we've had obviously I did my challenges, started all of that. We then had the emotional roller coaster. We became a Merlin Annual Pass collaborator. I keep saying we because I'm so used to talking about us as a family. Did the Merlin Annual Pass collaboration, and then the ITV stuff and stuff moving forward. So this year has been mental for me. Could you make it to... I probably could, yeah. I mean, we could have like a little... I mean, if you want to stay around afterwards, I can invite you in. We can have a face-to-face. If I can work out how to do it. Can we film behind the scenes some more? Oh yeah, that's another thing. I forgot. The Southern Screamer. I got tickets to that, which I've never done. The Attraction Source Southern Screamer coming up. Dave's going. I think Gary's going. Kate's going. I don't think she's still in the chat, but there's a few people going. But I want to say the answer is going to be no, Dave. I could be wrong, but it was a no for behind the scenes of Saw. So I'm assuming it's going to be the same. Photos are allowed, except for the control console. So I think you'll be allowed to take photos, but you won't be able to film. So don't plan to be filming behind the scenes stuff there. So Voodoo Donut in exchange for extra seats. I can film my case. No, but Homer Donuts. Now we're talking. I just love a Homer Simpson giant donut. I mean, I'm expecting at least one anyway. So, which I'll pay good money for because they are amazing. Sorry, I'm just going to put comments up here. Hey Dave, I did 2 scenes and they let you take photos from it. Yeah, as I said, yeah, they let you take videos and not photos. Will you stick with McLaren if Norris leaves? Next question, please. No, of course I will, but I will always be a Lando Norris fan. Sorry, I'm talking to Chris here because I don't know if you know, Chris works for McLaren. He is everything that I need in a friend. He's an absolute legend and works for McLaren, and we're both huge McLaren fans. So we're having a fun time at the moment because we're actually getting to see stuff going well. But Lando Norris has a special place in my heart. If I could adopt Lando Norris, I absolutely would. So I hope it doesn't happen, but he's kind of said it is. So yeah, you can take a couple of cheeky videos. If you're M and Chris and Oscar, you can take as many videos as you want because they pretty much just said, yeah, we're making a video. So obviously we were there for my annual pass, but it was like, you can't film. And it was like, why are we here then if we can't film? So we kind of just took it upon ourselves to film, but I wouldn't recommend doing that. But just live in the moment, as I've said before, if you get that chance to go behind the scenes, because what happens from Saw is when you go behind the scenes, you learn bits about the ride and then you go on the ride and it makes that ride a different experience. Like learning the fact that they have the bathroom scene from Saw in the Saw ride, which I never knew. So when you go through the first kind of corkscrew, that scene down there's like there's a foot chained to a pole, there's a toilet and the body and stuff, and it's actually the scene from Saw. It's a replica of the movie scene, which you wouldn't know unless you saw. Live photos, yeah, exactly. Just hold down your camera, hold your photos down. Homer Donuts are the best. They are, yeah, best donuts in town. Oh, wrong finger. Best donuts in town. So I'm just clicking through here, and they're probably not questions. Thorpe tomorrow, yeah, have fun, enjoy that. I'm very jealous of the fact you're going to Thorpe, but not jealous of the queues. Not that I have to queue anymore. Thorpe Park look after me. 9th of September, mate. Yes, yeah. We're not speaking in riddles, but I can't wait to see those. And we're catching back up on the 9th of September, which will probably be the next time we see each other. Which I'm excited for, but we are going to be seeing each other in the presence of McLaren gods. So yeah, buzzing for that. Yeah, please do. Yeah, let me know if there's anything new. I had a really good one last time I went, even though it was melted by the time I got it home, but they've got some good stuff. But then they are attacked by wasps at the moment. So if you look, they look closed because they have this netting across the front, and then they have like a flap. So they look closed, but they're not. So just, yeah, make sure you do get at least one. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. I'm a big thing for that. Sometimes you need a camera, sometimes you really, really don't. Yeah, as always, creating the best content and leaving us waiting for it. Sorry, I'm just trying to see if any of these are questions, but they're not. You're just gassing, aren't you? Carolyn said no to stealth. What? She's not riding stealth? Just me and you then, Dave. Do front row, back row. Put the goggles on you. Perfect. Right, guys. Well, I can't see any more questions, which means I've either talked too much or I've bored you to tears and you can't wait to finish. But with that being said, oh yeah, I'm not allowed to do my new outro. Emily, I have a new outro, which they hate, which is, I jokingly said, I've been Mike, hit the like, and I'll see you in a few. And she nearly threw up her dinner. So I kind of want to do it just to be annoying, but it's been a pleasure. I've absolutely loved gassing about myself. I mean, we're vloggers for a reason, right? We love to talk to cameras. Apologies, I haven't been able to interact too much with the chat, but I'm glad again to see some of my favorite people in this community chatting away and talking and stuff. And so I've got family in there as well, which my mum hasn't learned how to type yet, but I got a petition going that I want her to be in one of my videos. I know certain people have done it in this industry, but I want to get her in a video. I know, I want you to meet Emily too. I just seen that, and I did ask her to come in. So I'm going to ask her to come in, but I don't think she's still awake because this baby is beating her up. So she needs all the sleep she can get, but this is your invite to come in if you're still watching. And if you're not, then you're not a very supportive girlfriend. What did I just see? I saw the mama there. Yeah, hi Mama Journey Attractions. That's actually what I made her name to be. I actually made her name to be Mum Journey Attractions because she's not very good with technology, and she oh, you're not coming in. Sorry, she's in her pajamas, but and you probably can't hear her because the microphone's not picking her up. But that means she does support my channel, which is great. But yeah, okay, you can go to bed now then. Thanks for coming. Lionel can come in though. Come in. For those that don't know. Hello. This is my my vlogging friend. This is Lionel, if you haven't met Lionel before. So even though we're having a baby, we definitely already have one. Don't we, dude? Hello. Actually just burp in the mic. You're gross. Go away. So yeah, that's Lionel. And yeah, I can see. I don't know why. What was I savage about? I just saw that I was savage, but I don't think I was savage. Oh yeah, RCM. Roller coaster men for that. Yeah, you are, Dave. Trust me. When I say she's bad with tech, I mean she's bad with tech. She's still, you know, and they still have those styluses to text with. I think she still has one of those. Yeah, hey. Yeah, the dog steals the show again. But yeah, I just wanted you to introduce. Obviously, you will get a chance to meet Emily for those that haven't. She's not feeling it right now, which is fair enough. No, I was only joking, but she, she's making our baby, as I say, like Build-A-Bear. She's doing it. So we're 13 weeks, nearly 14 weeks. So due in March. So yeah, we've got the dog. We're having a baby. You're meant to meet Emily, and you know all about my challenges, my ITV appearance, and everything else that I've done in 2023. So you probably won't want to hang out with me again, but I appreciate it, and I am going to go now. So thank you for watching. It makes my heart melt every time I have one person watching my stuff. So to have you guys all here for me and just chatting, I really appreciate it. With that being said, I shall see you on the next one. See you later.